And Ryan, to go further on it, can you walk through, and Cameron, feel free to add any color here, but in terms of when we're purchasing the home, is that through a mortgage versus cash, and what does that debt look like?
Yeah, so when we buy a home, a portion of it is funded by a long-term mortgage or loan. And the percentage of that property that's funded by a loan is slightly different for every property, but you can find that on the property pages. And it right now averages probably between 60 to 70% of the properties are funded by a loan. And we're also looking to test different types of loan amounts. The reason that we do that is to create positive leverage on the investment. So we talked about this a bit in the presentation, but really loans or leverage are an important part of real estate investing, because oftentimes you get these lower fixed rate loans. It creates a great kind of leverage point on top of the investment, whether that's against the cash flow coming in or against the property appreciation. And so that's why we take that approach. And yeah, we disclose that on each of the property pages. And yeah, Cameron, anything that you would add that I didn't touch on related to the loans or leverage?
Yeah, we've mentioned positive leverage a couple times, so I'll walk through a really quick example just to demonstrate the difference of an unlevered transaction versus a levered return. So imagine that you have a $100,000 property and we take a $70,000 loan on that. That amount never really changes over time. It can't go up, right? As far as the principal being owed. And let's say 5 years down the road, we have that same property now worth $130,000. So if you invested $100,000 into it with no debt, then your return on that would be $30,000 divided by $100,000, so 30%. Now imagine that with that $70,000 loan, you're only putting $30,000 of cash up front. And when you get the payback, it's $30,000 of cash in excess of what the property was purchased for initially, but you only put that $30,000 into it. So your gain is actually 100% now because you have $30,000 return on $30,000 invested. So that is the power of positive leverage that we keep referring to, is that 100% return versus that 30% return. But I thought an example might just help illustrate why we do take out that leverage, because debt can have a bit of a negative connotation,
Right.
but there's a very positive side to it because you're able to magnify your returns on the same underlying asset.